Hello, folks, and welcome. All right, I think we can start. And as I'm giving today's presentation, let me shortly introduce myself. My name is Alex. I am happy to be the organizer of this meetup, and we are already over 1,000 members in different cities. Nevertheless, we have managed to keep this very cozy atmosphere during the presentations and also the discussions with our speakers, which I find absolutely amazing. Thank you for that. Talking about myself, I'm a product manager and, well, one can say teamwork enthusiast. So I put the product management and team coaching here in one box because Scrum also focuses a lot on teamwork. I'm working mostly with the data science and machine learning teams. If you like to connect or ask questions or give some feedback, then feel free to shoot me a message on Meetup or comment or connect on LinkedIn. And let's get back to the roots and start from the purpose of the retrospective event. And if you look at the Agile Manifesto and the Scrum Guide, then we see that the purpose of the retro is actually to plan for the ways to increase quality and effectiveness of teamwork. So the team members meet at the regular intervals of time, reflect on how their collaboration was, and think of a plan to improve it. And of course, there are certain challenges and there are certain open questions that are typical for this process. Like, for example, how do we identify the most impactful positive or negative factors in our teamwork? Which are the improvements that we should prioritize over the others? And so on and so forth. How do we make sure that everyone's voice is heard? And which is especially important now when everyone is working remotely. And of course, how do we measure and track our progress? And how do we make it visible, the progress, which is an outcome of our Agile retrospective activities? Again, what are work values? Do we have a shared vision of efficient teamwork? Are we all on the same page? How our collaboration should look like or not? And if not, we should discuss this. How we make sure that our retrospectives are consistent, how do we document things properly, how do we make sure that we are addressing the long-term impactful persisting issues, rather than jumping from one topic to another without achieving improvements. So these are just some of the common challenges and open questions related to Agile retrospectives. And those open questions and challenges can be basically split into the how types of questions into two groups, the how type of questions and the what type of questions. And we address these two groups of questions differently. So we address the how questions with the help of introducing a certain method, a way of doing things, so a way of conducting our retrospectives. And we address the what questions by introducing certain models of team effectiveness, which in a condensed way explain what we consider most important aspects of collaboration in team. So talking about the models, there are quite a few available. So there is the goals, roles, processes, relations model. There is the Katzenbach and Smith model. There is the Google model. And of course, there is a Teamleadsky model, which I personally favor a lot. And if you like, you can learn more about it on the teamleadsky.com website. So that's about the models. You can pick one that is closest to your heart and use it, and to the hearts of your team members and use it. So now let's dive into the actual method part. So let me introduce the Teamleadsky method. Give me a second. Within this approach, we are considering different factors that affect teamwork And it's not a surprise that we call positive factors drivers and negative factors restrainers. Oops. We measure, so we use the, we use drivers to define our ideal state, our shared vision about our ideal collaboration in a team. And we use drivers and restrainers in order to describe our current stand. So where do we stand now? And we measure two values in order to quantify those states. We measure the impact that each factor has on our teamwork, and we measure the presence of each factor in our current state. So let me illustrate this with an example. In case if you're using the Teamleadsky model of team effectiveness, then you will ask your team members to share their opinion. What is the impact of a given driver? Let's say the driver is we want to achieve 75% of code coverage, and then the team members will share their opinion, which impact this 75% of code coverage will have on the engagement, their commitment, their productivity, and their emotional drive. And of course, if you're using a different model, if you're using Kassenbach and Smith model, then you will have different aspects of teamwork there. Talking about the presence, of course, not all the nice things that we want to have are fully present in our. So maybe right now our code coverage is not 75, but 20%. Well, still it have this positive impact that we have specified before, but just on a smaller scale. So by quantifying those two values, impact and presence, we are able to identify the gap between the ideal state of our collaboration, the place where we want to develop our team towards, and our current state. And identifying this gap helps us together with the team members to align on the action plan, on the action points for improving or closing this gap. And of course, this process is repeated iteratively. So that is the method which can be used with any team effectiveness model, any of the models mentioned before, and any other models as well. So now let's actually move to the fun part, and let's see how it all looks in practice. Okay, make it bigger. So this is our retrospective tool, and we are now on the current state page. So as you can see, there is a certain some things here are still under development. So we're going to have a nice dashboard with all the breakdown of all the factors and impacts. They're going to have the team page, of course, and the action items page. But right now, those two are operational. And let me actually guide you through the steps of creating creating your current state and setting your developmental goal for the team. So during the sprint retrospective, or during if you're using Scrum or during your Agile retrospective, your team members share the drivers and restrainers, so the things that help them in their collaboration and things that prevent them to work effectively. And you can use any activity, any structure in order to gather this information. The tool is the mean of managing, storing, and managing the information. After you have performed your activity, then you can write down everything here in the tool. So you can add certain driver. Let's say what can be a good example. Let's say like we have a long-term vision, right? It's always very good to have a long-term vision. So what would be the impact? And again, in this demo, I'm using the Teamleadsky model of team effectiveness. That's why you have here deliver, learn, and innovate aspects of teamwork. But if you are using a different model, then like goals, roles, processes, and or something else, you would have different aspects here. So having a long-term vision would definitely help us to deliver our stuff better, because we would be able to plan our technical solutions long-term. Then it would possibly help us to maybe learn more. Maybe we would provide some time for learning because we would have this long-term plan, and we would know where do we have more slack time. And yeah, innovating, maybe this is not very relevant. All right. And you can see that this has an impact. That this has an impact on the overall score for the current state of the team and the gap between the current and ideal state. And let's move on and go to the ideal state, which is right here. And we can see that these are the factors that the team members have discussed and aligned on, and they want to see these factors all the time in their work. They want the product owner to be available for the team. They want to spend every second Friday for learning. They want to achieve this 70% code coverage target, and there can be more, of course. So that gives us also some kind of quantification for the ideal state and allows us to compare and identify the gap. And at one point during the next retrospective, when we update the current state, so the current state is updated frequently, every retrospective, and the ideal state is updated less frequently, let's say every quarter or every month, or when it makes sense, when the team members have new ideas, so the situation has changed. So during the next retrospective, we create a new state, and that will be probably not the 17th of August, but maybe 25th of August. Let's create it. And of course, some things would have changed over this time. Like, for example, we would achieve a better test coverage, right? And maybe we would already, maybe we could already have our product owner available more often for the team. And maybe something else. And maybe some negative things would happen as well. Like the machine learning engineer who is going on holidays. Maybe he would be on holidays, or she would be on holidays earlier, or more frequently, or less frequently, or maybe something else, which we can add here. And here we can see what is our ideal state, what is our current state, and what is the previous state. So what is the progress that we have achieved since our last retrospective? And so we go in iterations, and we have our progress visible, tracked, and recorded. And we also record, we can give some notes here, or we will be able in the nearest future also to create the action points related to certain drivers or restrainers. That's how it works. And this is everything that I had to share during the presentation. And now I will be glad to look into the chat, answer all the questions. And for that, I will stop the recording and invite everyone to join us for the discussion.